There's turmoil tonight inside a West Michigan institution that cares for 80,000 people yearly and employs 2,000 workers worldwide. Grand Rapids-based Bethany Christian Services serves a vulnerable and diverse population, including global refugees. But Target Aid has learned the agency staff will no longer reflect the diverse faiths of its clients. Target Aid investigator Susan Samples reports BCS has begun enforcing a strict hiring policy. If you're not Christian, you need not apply. And that's not the only change. Staff says has pitted workers in the trenches against those at the top.
When Afghanistan collapsed, Bethany Christian Services, recognized as an official resettlement partner of the U.S. government, helped to pick up the pieces.
Bethany took in a ton of kids in the refugee program of kids through Afghanistan.
We're disguising this worker's identity because BCS banned staff from talking to media about changes that came with a new CEO in July. Prior leaders had allowed exceptions to the agency's Christians-only hiring mandate. But those days are gone at an agency that receives taxpayer dollars and, back in 2021, welcomed hundreds of Afghan refugees, including children.
If we didn't have people at Bethany that were Muslim, I can't imagine how that would have gone with those kids. We would have been like in over our heads, even more than we already were. How is it fair to these kids to then say, well, you're going to a place where everyone maybe believe something different than you and you don't see yourself in anybody there?
Staff, according to this employee, was blindsided by the sudden enforcement of the hiring dictate.
I think a lot of people were in denial at first of like, they can't get away with this. There's no way that they can do this.
That depends to a degree on whom you ask. Under federal law, faith-based organizations are exempt from U.S. laws banning religious discrimination in employment. The Supreme Court has ruled that exemption covers not just ministers, but any employee who acts in a ministerial role.
We're seeing more faith-based organizations or employers arguing that anybody that they employ is considered a ministerial employee.
That's just not so, says Jay Kaplan of the Michigan ACLU. And when it comes to foster care, adoption, and refugee workers at Bethany Christian,
they're not engaging in ministerial functions, nor under their contract with the state of the Michigan should they be doing that sort of thing.
It is a well-established fact that a religious organization can advance its religious mission by hiring people who share the same faith.
Steve McFarland of the Christian Legal Society says BCS is well within its rights. Consider the agency's mission statement, which declares it's committed to demonstrating the love and compassion of Jesus Christ.
Not everybody has a right to a job at a religious organization. I don't have a right to be hired by a Muslim mosque. I don't have a right to display a Palestinian flag if I'm an employee at an Orthodox Jewish synagogue.
Indeed, Bethany Christian also banned in recent months workplace displays of support for LGBTQ+ people or any politically charged movement like Black Lives Matter.
We're not talking about a public park or some other forum where free speech kicks in. There is not a free speech right at a private workplace.
In this December email, BCS told staff it had been informed of numerous instances of Grand Rapids-based employees failing to follow the new policy banning such displays. The email ordered staff to take the items home ASAP and said failing to do so will result in discipline. Employees say BCS already fired several managers, citing the official reason as insubordination. When Target 8 requested an on-camera interview with Bethany's new CEO, Keith Curitan, the agency responded with a brief statement instead, in which it appeared to defend the firings, writing that its employees remain accountable for performing in a satisfactory manner the assigned duties of their position.
I think there's a lot of fear of being without a job, fear of retaliation.
This Bethany employee says several workers have quit in protest over the newly enforced policies and of the debate over their legality.
The question is not, can you? I don't doubt that they can. The question is, should you? Should you do that? Should you exclude people.
BCS has told staff it will not fire non-Christians who already work there, but it won't hire any more unless it's on an as-needed temporary contract basis. The state's attorney general tells me it's aware of what's going on there and is reviewing it, as is the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. I'm Target 8 investigator Susan Samples.